Hello motorcycle enthusiasts. Welcome to part 5 of our motorcycle safety video series. In this episode, experienced motorcycle police officer Paul Carroll will cover the importance of adding lighting to your motorcycle to increase a rider's visibility. Whether you're a seasoned rider or a beginner, these tips are crucial for your safety on the road. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more motorcycle safety tips.
People ask me what is ride fear free. Well, it's really the ability. It's kind of a course that bridges that gap from what you may have learned in an MSF course to get your basic motorcycle endorsement and what I call street survival. Obviously, things that happen out on that roadway can be very complex and dynamic, and the skill sets that most riders have will not negotiate those sort of happenings in front of you successfully. So this particular course is designed to kind of help give you some skill sets that will make you not only think, but you practice these skill sets will increase your chances of survival out of it. It's not designed to teach you how to become a police motor officer in 4 hours, because that's impossible. Okay. Just a little, I guess, about my background. My name is Paul. I'm currently a lieutenant with the Urbana Police Department. I've been with them for almost 16 years now. I am a certified police and motorcycle officer, as well as a certified police motor officer instructor. Just to kind of give you a nature of the basic police motor operation and the training that our officers go through that you see on the bike. It's an 80-hour course for a police officer. 76 of those 80 hours are in the saddle of the bike. And it's very intense. We only have like a 60% pass rate. And it comes down to being able to operate a motorcycle at extreme limits, whether that's slow or whether that's fast. It's operating the motorcycle at those extreme limits, maximum lean angle, maximum steering lock, and being able to keep the motorcycle under control and not drop it or not lose control in some sort of high speed. But we're able to do that when we teach that course. We're able to do that to police officers that have just got their motorcycle endorsement, a week before. Maybe their limited riding experience is maybe 6 months to a year, but not a whole lot. I can tell you that when I became a police motor officer back in 2012, I only had a couple of years of riding experience on the street. I went to an MSF, endorsement course. This is back when Abate used to run a lot of motorcycle training in the state. I got my motorcycle endorsement from Abate. I got the training through Abate, got my endorsement from the state. And I was a rider just like many of you all, but I didn't really realize how much skill set I lacked until I had an opportunity to try out for our police motor officer or motorcycle unit and went through basic police motorcycle operation. And I realized that my skill set, I was always about that close to dying because I would have no real ability to avoid those sort of situations. And if one did present itself in front of me, my skill set was not going to be something that was going to mitigate. I was probably going to lose control of the motorcycle and be a statistic. So the whole piece of Ride Fear Free is to give you just an insight to not only basic skill sets that you should have and should try to focus on mastering, but also what is out there in the advanced motorcycle training world. There's plenty of courses around here in northern Colorado or in the state of Colorado overall that will help make you a much better rider. For advanced skill sets, they're there to teach you how to operate the bike at its maximum levels. Okay, but maybe not quite as intense as a police motor sort of course. Okay. So just a little bit about basic motorcycle operation now. Things to think about. We talk about ride fear free. We're talking about being able to ride on your bike and you don't have that sense of tension and anxiety because you question your skill set and you're out on the roadway and what happens, what am I going to do if something happens, in front of me.
Discover the ultimate apparel at Ride Fear Free and elevate your style with our exclusive collection. Designed for both men and women, offering a wide range of products of shirts, hoodies, headbands, ball caps, and more. Visit our online store today.
Things to think about when you're riding a bike and you're getting the motorcycle itself is what sort of equipment do you have on it that is going to enhance your ability to survive the road. First piece that we look at, especially in the police world, is lighting on the bike. What type of lighting do you have on the motorcycle? Most bikes out there, when you take a look at some of the motorcycles around you, when you look at an Indian Chief, or you're looking at some of the Royal Enfields, they're usually single lamp motorcycles. It means they've got one lamp on the bike. And if you look at a typical motorcycle, that lamp is mounted on a vertical axis, so it's sitting straight up and it's sitting much higher. The problem we have on the roadway, you've all have probably heard when you're out there on the roadway and you see incidents that happen between cars and motorcyclists. The car driver usually says, "I didn't see it. I didn't see the motorcyclist." And generally, now we do have clearly a problem in our state with distracted driving, people texting, looking at their cell phone. Driving becomes very much a secondary function in the car for them. Everything else becomes more of a priority. Social media, checking their email, painting their fingernails, looking at themselves in the mirror, eating, drinking coffee, whatever it may be. Riding or driving becomes secondary, and everything else becomes primary. So when you couple that with the way motorcycles are equipped and how they're engineered versus what a driver of a car physically will register, what they see and what their brain picks up on, that makes our percentages of having some sort of negative interaction with the car very high. So back in I think it was in the 70s and the 80s, the railroads had the same sort of problem. At railroad crossings, a lot of car train incidents, and they realized that most trains were equipped with a single bulb headlamp. It's mounted on a vertical axis, it's sitting up high. Well, they did this, and I forget the particular scientist's name out of Japan. They did this study, and they come to find out that literally the human brain is conditioned to see lights on a horizontal, not lights on a vertical. So when we're out on the roadway and you take a look at how high this light bulb is mounted on the motorcycle versus a car, you'll find that this is mounted much, much higher than a car. And it's one single headlamp, and it's not widened out. So the perception when the human eye looks and I see this, I'm not conditioned to see this single headlight mounted on a vertical axis that's much higher than the car. So therefore my brain's not perceiving that, and literally I physically don't see that when you're coming down the road. So to counteract that, railway companies actually started mounting their lights in a triangular pattern on the front of a locomotive. So when you take a look at a typical freight train now, and you look at it from the front, it's got these two lights down below, and then it's got the single hand lamp on top. And sometimes these two lights down below will wiggle out. Well, when they did that whole triangulation piece, is that we've actually increased the actual perception of the human eye and the brain to physically see that there's something coming, and to be able to judge that speed. Because while I still may see the single headlight out there, the human brain has a hard time judging how fast that particular headlamp is closing on it, or how far away it is. And so it makes it very difficult for that person to judge, do I have enough time to pull out, or don't I? Where when you triangulate that light pattern, it clearly increases that particular person's ability to see you and judge how fast you're actually traveling. So when they make a decision to pull out in front of you, or to make a left turn, or even pull out onto the roadway, they're doing it with a much more sense of understanding how far away the bike is from them. So we'll take a look at that when we go outside. We've got a bike out there there's a number of different companies out there that make lights that you can triangulate patterns. I particularly personally use a Clearwater light system because Clearwater not only is a super high powered LED that you can control how bright it is on a rheostat switch, but they also cover their lights, their daytime lights, with a day cover that makes the light tint like a yellowish greenish. You've probably seen that on some of the vehicles. Well, when you take a light out there and you put one of those covers on the light and it's coming at you, you'd be amazed at how quickly you can actually see and detect and perceive that motorcyclist and how far away it is and how fast it's coming at you. That spectrum of yellow greenish tinge that's on these lights that you see out there, they've done studies that says that particular color spectrum is the color spectrum that's fastest or perceived the fastest by the human eye. You know, where white LEDs, white bright lights are not perceived as well. You can see it, but you can't judge how far something is from. So when we're looking at lighting on the front of the motorcycle, before I do anything to the light, the first thing that I change is the light and widen and triangulate that pattern. When I was a police motor officer, before we went to this sort of triangular light system, I can remember getting, you know, people would pull out in front of me multiple times a day, every day. So I was in a threshold braking event many times to avoid collisions. When we went to this triangular light pattern, I can count over the next 5 or 6 years, maybe once or twice that somebody pulled out in front of me versus it happened every single day. So it's amazing what these things do. We actually took these bikes side by side one time, and we had them drive down 4 or 5 blocks out and make a U-turn to come back. You know, and these were Harley-Davidson Road Kings. One was equipped with a triangular light pattern head. This company was Motolight, which still exists, out of Ohio. And these lights are mounted down on the fender bolts, or mounted down on around the brake caliper area of the front suspension. So it widens and it brings that lighting pattern down. We literally would turn the bikes around and come right back at you, and you would literally not see the bike that didn't have it. It would be invisible. And the bike with the triangular light pattern you can pick up immediately. So something to think about when you're purchasing a motorcycle. Something to think about on the bike that you have now. And you can mount them in various different ways. You know, you have dual sport bikes out here. I think we have a couple of Himalayas out here. You know, dual sport bikes have a habit of putting, you know, fog lights down on the actual engine guards. All those are great to have. Because anytime you can triangulate that light pattern, you increase the perception of the motorist being able to see you early on and be able to accurately predict how fast we're closing in. Okay? But again, there's different, you know, a couple of different companies. Clearwater, you know, Clearwater is big in the endurance riding community out of California. They do a tremendous job. They stand behind all their lights. A lot of the chapter members of the Higher Marquee chapter have Clearwater lights mounted on the bike. It's super easy to install as well. And their lights can range anywhere from 2,700 lumen lights up to 35,000 each, depending on how much you're going to spend and how big you want the lights. Now, some of those lights are kind of protrusive that mount to the forks, but even their smaller lights that go on the front suspension are producing 2,700 lumen each. So,
just curious, basically, kind of triangulation you're talking about. Do you think it would be possible to get the same effect by just maybe even adjusting, bringing the turn signals down lower?
Not necessarily, no, because I don't think any turn signal is producing enough light power to really make the difference. On my bike, I've got their speaking halo turn signals where when a turn signal is not lit, it's actual steady white LED ring, and when the turn signal goes on, it goes amber and flashes. And I can tell you that when you look at the front of my motorcycle, it's all you see is headlight, headlight and clear waters. That's it. And you can see those clear waters. You can see me coming from, if you got a straight stretch, you can see me coming 3, 4, 5, 6 miles down the road. So it's a combination of where the lights are located, how far down they are, as well as how much power they're producing. Gotcha. Okay. So lighting is the first thing. Something to consider.
Are you a retired motorcycle officer looking for an exciting new venture? Ride Fear Free offers you the opportunity to own your business by providing motorcycle skill training and marketing services to motorcycle dealers. Connect with riders and dealerships, drive sales, and promote safety. Learn more at ridefearfree.pro and let's make an impact together.
Yeah, I was rear-ended a few years ago, and it's an experience I never want to go through again for sure. And so I actually have General Dynamics strobing modules on the back, and I have them low and high because I have a trunk. And I can tell you today, you know, cars do stay back; they don't tend to come close. But even with that, I constantly, when I'm coming into a stop, I look in my rear view mirror as well until watching the cars come up. And I always, every stop sign, every stoplight I come to, I always see what my exit is going to be.
I was kind of park my bike. I didn't like somebody off to the side where I can get out like that.
Always have an exit. That's the piece, an exit strategy. Staying a distance back enough to be able to move the motorcycle in and around, because even with two cars parked side by side in the same lane, most bikes you can actually get right in between them. Hence why they lane split in California. So you can maneuver, even a big bike, you can maneuver through there. But when you have both feet on the ground, you're not paying attention, you're not looking behind you, you're not going to get that reaction. By the time that you hear that somebody is not stopping behind you, it's going to be too late.
I was just gonna bring up, I sweep a lot for the chapter here, and I have found you have to use your brake. Actually put the clutch and make it work. We downshift so much to slow down, and I'm bad about it sometimes when I'm by myself. I try to keep my feet up so I don't have to put my feet up. You have to use your brakes so that the cars behind you know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that you can do to get their attention. But it's one of those things, the biggest piece that will save your life is paying attention to what's going on behind you, not what's going on. The threat's not coming from in front of you. The threat's really behind you. Once you get enough people stopped behind you, then you can focus on all the things out and around you. But really your focus needs to be on approaching traffic, especially when you're alone sitting there by yourself, there's nobody else behind you to protect you. As you get hit at any kind of speed, it's going to be a bad event. It's not going to be fun. Questions? Any other questions?
What about rear lighting as far as being more visible behind?
Important. All right. It's important that the more lighting that you can get a driver's attention, the better. Okay. So a lot of motorcyclists, I do as well, have strobing or flashing lighting patterns when you hit the brake.
That on the back of my modular.
There you go. It's all designed to get people's attention. But what you need to more importantly do, regardless of the lighting that you have, is when you're coming to a stop and you're stopped, you need to be cognizant of approaching traffic until you've got multiple vehicles stopped behind you. Then you can kind of let your guard down. But I've seen it a ton of times where you got a motorcyclist pulls up to a light, pops the bike in neutral, takes his hand off the throttle, puts both feet down on the ground, and is lighting a cigarette. You're just asking for something bad happens. You really are. Because you've got no ability to mitigate that risk. If in fact somebody is not paying attention on their phone and they don't realize that you're stopped because you got no real lighting that gets their attention. Second of all, you're not even prepared. You don't see this approaching traffic. By the time that you realize it or hear screeching tires, it's too late. So you mitigate that risk by, and we'll talk about it out here on the actual course itself, but you mitigate that risk by paying attention and watching your mirrors and seeing who's approaching. Think about it in your own brain. Are you really seeing what you're seeing? What color is the vehicle? What kind of vehicle is it? Once you get a number of vehicles stacked behind you, then you're pretty much protected. All right, but I can tell you, I've been to rear-end collisions at intersections involving 4 cars. This car hit this car, pushed it into this car, pushed it into this car. It speeds of 40, 45 miles an hour. That's about what you're going to get. Anything more than that, pretty protected. That lead vehicle sitting there was not going to get hit. Anything that or less, you're at risk. So you need to pay attention. But more importantly, it's a big thing, and you'll see out here when we talk about it, is that when you see me in a stoplight, my right foot is never on the ground. It's always up covering the rear brake pedal of the bike. And the reason why is that I'm able to get up into a friction zone and out of an area really fast. That just gives me that additional second of time and space to react. And allows me to maneuver out versus both of my feet on the ground. If I actually put a stopwatch to it, it would take me about a second to get it up and get ready and go. All right, so anything you can do to minimize your risk at a stoplight if you're stopped, the better.
Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Remember to click the notification bell to be alerted when new videos are posted, and join us in the next video.